Good morning, everyone. Shh. I'm using Rachel's techniques. um, Good morning, bom dia, buenos dias. So we are having now a guided meditation with Lama Padmasambhava just to start the day. And after that, I will go through for an agenda for the day, and then we will start with our whole energy. Okay, so please, Lama.
Good morning. Then feel free to put the body in a straight and relaxed position. I conduct through the 5 elements. Then we breathe in and breathe out. Now we increase stability, earth element. the vividness of the mind. It's clear, stable, sharp.
Thank you. So we have some new people today. So just you to have an overview about our journey these 2 days, yesterday and today. So yesterday we looked a lot outside about the Latin American historical context, Latin American Caribbean, and about Amazon, about well-being, self-development. And today we are going to share some contents about art for social transformation. Activism, spotlight on human trafficking, stigma and social exclusion versus independence, and about new political practices. And after that, remember the exercise that we did yesterday about the qualities and challenges that we have in the region? So it's just going to follow that, and the idea is to come back here at the end to do another participatory exercise, and then we can have a vision and a plan for the region. So this is the idea, and the 2 days are very connected, and we are having a very interesting closing performance for our artists from Brazil. So I'd like to start this next activity and call our friend Brian Lambert and Nakoja. So Brian believes we are dynamic human process. His values is to often reduce it to a list of achievements or the size of lemons reloaded. During university, Brian immersed himself in the concepts of microfinance through eradicate poverty, writing an honors thesis and partnering with his university president and well-known Dallas business leaders to create the Recycle to Eradicate Poverty program. He later joined the investment team in a commercial impact investing private equity fund called Microvest, investing about $100 million in debt equity transactions. He became NEXUS Global Operations Director, so he's a really partner of NEXUS. We can talk much more about Brian, but Brian, no, please. And Claudia, she's part of the, so she has more than 24 years of experience in multinational companies in which she has developed a solid career in the service sector, as well as a proven managerial ability in international environments and profound knowledge of strategy, transformation, and coaching. She has served in executive positions in 10 countries as Portugal, Spain, France, United Kingdom, Italy, Brazil, Angola, China, Mexico, and the United States. Please, Emma, pleasure.
Good morning, everybody. Hello. How do you feel today? After this meditation, I think we are, just myself, I'm very pleased to be here. And I want to thank Khalida and the NEXUS to be invited to be here. And I had a question yesterday. It was a really great day. I thought a lot of things changing. So my first question is, what is the one of the 5 options that they have to talk? I can talk in Portuguese, Spanish, English, Spanish, or Portuguese. So, Spanish.
My Spanish is pretty good, but yeah, let's.
Yeah, we can do whatever. Yesterday, some folks were very much into speaking Spanish, and we can do whatever. How do you feel today? More in the English area?
English.
Okay. Okay, we go for that. So, Brian,
Yeah, just
an idea of how we can go through this.
yeah, I just want to say it's really great to be back at Nexus, seeing all the lovely faces here. You know, there's a lot of habitual ways where we have panel discussions, and I want us to lift up how are we interacting right now? How are we operating? How are we improving how we normally listen to conversations and engage in them? And how do we regenerate them? And regeneration is one of those words that at this point means nothing and everything to a lot of people. I don't know if you've heard of this word regeneration. It's kind of the new buzzword. Anybody heard of regeneration before? Okay. Anybody know specifically what it means? Okay, you got it. So we're all over the gamut here. Regeneration is a way of thinking. It functions across industries. I'd say mostly in agriculture and real estate. And there's many lineages that, you know, we only have 30 minutes here, so we're only going to graze the surface. But these, you know, they're very deep and profound, and they go all the way back to indigenous roots in some, and, you know, evidence-based studies through science on another. So there's just a wide gamut that we're going to not be able to cover. So I'm just going to say right now, you may not walk away knowing everything about regeneration, but what we want to leave you with is a grown capacity around what it might be. And we're going to take you on a journey to that. Regeneration is fundamentally about holism, and it's about patterns and principles. Patterns and principles about how humans interact with themselves, each other, the land, and basically how we live together as humanity. So I'm so excited to have Anna Claudia here because she's going to teach us one big topic in regeneration is agreements, and basically this new concept that I'm learning about called ecosynomics. So I would love, Anna Claudia, if you could share with us some of these relationships about ecosynomics.
Okay, I'm going to do that, and I'm not here to teach anything, so I'm here to share with you my experience. As Tolika pointed out, I started as a strategist in a very business-oriented world, and I started as a strategist. I'm coming from economy, also economy, and I started my career in strategy and change management in that time, and I thought to observe that the ones who do strategy, they do not consider the human area, and the ones who do change management do not consider the strategy. And I started to find out that really strange. And then I evolved to have the possibility to be a CEO in a technology company for one of the biggest international financial groups. And I said, that is my playground. I want to make change in a different way. I want to make a transformation. And I started to work in that transformation, coming from an assumption that the results are not the focus, are not my goal. They are, as the name itself says, something that results from the process. And the goal is something much higher and much deeper, and is related to a deeper purpose that we have when we come together. So what I find out is that whenever we focus on that deeper purpose, the true top results in a traditional way, they are coming much higher, much sustainable, and with much more impact in the society. And through that process, I came up to know Richie Dunham, and he's a researcher, and I found out that I wasn't crazy on trying to do transformations like that, and I was not the only one. And there are a lot of groups that are doing this kind of transformation. And what Jim found out in the research was that what happened in these organizations, in these communities that are having the higher results from the meaning of their sectors and much more sustainable. At the first we thought, okay, maybe the guys are all from MIT and our group, and let's go there and see, find out what's happening in the field. And the group of researchers started to find out that they were pretty common people. A lot of them never went to college. And so the question was, what's happening in there? And start to realize that they have a completely different set of agreements. And so economics starts to be revealed from what happened in the field. Because we start to observe that in the field, people have agreements. We all have agreements. We have agreements with ourselves. We have agreements with others, with groups. We have agreements with nature. We have agreements with the spirit. Today in the morning, when you wake up, you agree on being alive. And you agree on being here. And now you are agreeing on the spirit. So whenever, whatever we do, we are establishing agreements. And that is very powerful because when we start to see the agreements that we consciously or unconsciously are choosing, we understand that we can change that. And that is very powerful.
Will you say that one more time? We can change?
We can change our agreements.
Interesting. What do you mean by agreements? Maybe you could slow down on the 5 agreements and walk us through each one.
The 5 agreements, those are more 5 relationships. When we start to
5
talk,
relationships.
With the people, and people start to describe us, their experience, they always describe their experience when in these 5 relationships. How do I feel with myself? How do I feel with the other? How do I feel in this group? How do I perceive nature and reality? How do I relate with spirit as a source of creativity? And those 5 dimensions, we start to find out that are the 5 dimensions that we need to work with in order to change the system. Because whenever we focus on only one of the relationships, we are not able to change the system. Only by working in these 5 relationships at once, we can change systems. And it's like a group of musicians. They do not, when you're in an orchestra and you're a musician, you are hearing your instrument, but you are tuning your instrument, and you are hearing the other instrument, and you are paying attention to the harmony. Because as human beings, we are not able to do 5 things at a time. Not even us, girls. So, but we cannot do that. So, what is the secret thing that allows us to do 5 things at the same time? It's when we pay attention to the harmony. And when we pay attention to the harmony, we can do the 5 things. And when I started to work with the Institute for Strategic Clarity, I was a predictionist. I was doing this by instinct. I didn't know that all of this has a framework and these names and these economics names, but I was applying those concepts based on my experience and observation. And I find out that whenever I invite the full human being to be present, my organization results are much higher. So let's see just one simple example. What is the potential of present in this room? Each of you is a human being of life. What is the amount of potential that is present here? If you put everything from you, from your full self, from your ancestors' knowledge, Because each of us in the room, it's not just this body. It's this body and all the knowledge that we carry in. And when we are truly engaged, you can imagine how many great things can happen. And we start to observe that. And I, as a CEO in that moment, I said, wait a minute. Probably I'm destroying value, not creating value. I'm having results, great results, but I'm still destroying value because I'm not engaging all the full potential of the human being in work. And what do we do? I find you, and I say, oh my God, I fell in love with that human being. I really want to connect with you. That's great. I want to be like whole of myself. Let's do something together. And what we do in the first moment, we do a contract. And what the name of contract means? We contract people. We contract the life and the creativity. And then we give them a job description. So I fell in love with that whole human being, and now I'm using a small part of their potential. And what does that mean? It means that I'm destroying all the rest of the value that is not present socially. I can go on. I see that you have a question.
No, I just wanted to reflect on what you're saying a little bit, and just say that what I think I'm hearing is that there's this living image of a world that we sort of habitually engage with, and we do that through agreements, and there's an opportunity to constantly upgrade it. And for me, like, obviously I come from a different lineage of regeneration. We think about it in terms of self and my own development. We think about the group, how we're all engaging here as a group. And you can just kind of slow down for a second and just notice the group for a second. And everyone's starting to perk up. And then the system. So what are the agreements that we have right now? How I relate to you, how I relate to this group, and how as a collective we engage in work. And that's why I made this kind of funny, and I wrote that my title was human being on the name, and it's sort of a joke, because I think that we reduced the complexity of a human being, just like what Ana Claudia is saying, into a title. We're much more than that. Even to say our name reduces sort of the amazing living being that we are. And from a regenerative perspective, we can zoom out from talking about myself as a human being to the group, and then zoom all the way out to the system. So the dominant system that we have, we describe as a neoliberal economic system. So startup to IPO to YPO. And, after the industrial age, we've taken the resources we've had and we've grown exponentially. And that has created amazing possibilities for the world. We've there's more people out of poverty than ever before, but there's these side effects. Side effects of the way we've always been doing things, this agreement on the collective level. Side effects are 8 families now own half of the world's wealth. And also climate change. And so we've been saying, this is like the larger regenerative community, that we are going through another Copernicus moment, where the way our whole society thought things worked aren't actually how they do. The patterns and principles of the way nature works, the way the earth works, our human systems are fundamentally out of alignment with them. And Copernicus is the guy who said that the earth was not, the that the planet did not, I mean, the world didn't revolve around the Earth, that it revolved around the sun. So it's a huge leap. And this is a very confronting conversation. And I believe that the millennial generation is sort of the first group of people that this is coming to terms around, this sort of agreement that we've made that has this dream of becoming wealthy and having the American dream and being able to make as much money as you can. That's no longer available to us if you actually pay attention to the principles and patterns, and I call it the millennial tragedy. If we extract, if we build wealth in the fundamental same way that the baby boomers did, there won't be a planet left. And so we're having to radically change our agreements, coming back to myself, me and you, the group, the system, of what does success and what does wealth look like in our generation. So I want to turn to the future. I mean, and this is not by all means truth. This is sort of my one man's take on it. If some of these agreements start to be changed, how does that change the way we interact with the world?
That is very interesting. Yesterday we heard a lot of the concepts we work with. We heard about abundance versus scarcity. We heard about agreements. We heard about system change. We heard about a lot of cases of what we call positive deviants. And those positive deviants are people that are finding different agreements. We have yesterday talking about and coming from abundance perspective. And what we learned during these years of research is that we made this rough generalization towards when Alan Smith said some of the resources might be limited. We tried to simplify and we overgeneralized and we said everything is scarce. And we start to organize and interact coming from that perspective. And our proposition is, what are the agreements that we can build together when we come from abundance? When we do believe that the resources are not scarce, they are just scarce because we want to interact with them in a non-respectful way. We had here yesterday, we heard how do nature have this radical collaboration in order to create conditions for life. And for me, that is regenerative economics. It's when we know how to interact as human beings, accepting the life and potential of each of us, and bringing all that power to the room towards a deeper purpose that connects us as human beings. I was born in Africa. I was raised in Europe. I am a Mexican mother. And I have this great Mexican friend that works with indigenous cultures, and he says we are all indigenous in some point of our life. In our roots, we are all coming from the same source. So why do we do these agreements that make us, or how do we accept these agreements that make us feel miserable? We can change that. It's our choice.
Amen to that. I just want to say that this is not new. This is not a new idea. This is a remembering of what always was and always will be, of our natural relationship. It's sort of upgrading, and I wish we had more time and for questions and everything like that. So there's much more to it, and happy to talk more. And I wish we had more time for questions, but sort of end it because Young Jay's going to come get us. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
I think we have time time for 2 questions while we set up the video for Rena's explanation here. Yes.
Anybody can also gets bonus points if they can name an agreement that's happening in the room and maybe propose an upgrade to it. Got it. Yep. I totally agree with that.
Completely. Are we agreeing? Can we change that agreement for today? Who say yes?
Honestly, everybody in this room is an expert that we could have up here.
Yeah.
So if we could flatten the conversation to be the whole room as much as we can, I'm totally in alignment with, what's your name? Blaine?
Yeah.
Thank you, Blaine.
Thank you, Mike. Any other questions? We are going to be in the room during the day, and you're very welcome to go on this conversation. And yes, try to think what are the agreements that you are accepting that you can change, and that what does that mean in your life? I think it's with any question or comment you want to share with the group, starting from that point that we change our agreement. Yes. The new features are generated by changing those agreements from our perspective. You can, the source and the power is ours as human beings. We're still looking for an answer, and whenever we look for an answer, we are limiting our nature of evolving creatures and evolving world. We are not a end product. We are not an end masterpiece. So there is no such thing as an answer. There are a lot of questions and evolving inquiry, because we are evolving creatures, and the world is an evolving reality. So there is no such thing as the answer. When we are in search for an answer, we are boxing and we are limiting our evolution. And this reality, it's a perfect reality. We build up that reality by accepting a lot of agreements. And we can build a different reality by this connection of awareness of what are the agreements that we are saying yes to. Do you want to be there listening, or do you want to participate? Just raise your hand. Make a different proposal. When you have a meeting that is a miserable meeting, just raise your hand and say, come on, we are human beings. We don't have to suffer like that. Can we agree something different?
What's up, Dave?
That is a very interesting question. How do we relate to trauma, and how do we overcome that? And I was connecting with something that you've done yesterday. I think it was you. That's stand up and give a hug to your neighbor. stand up and be human. And it's not this thing, the hello hug. It's really connect. You have trauma, and I have trauma. And we all have that reality in our global story. So we are brothers and sisters. We are one. And your pain is my pain. And that is the nature of the human being. I'm so glad with technical problems. I never have been so glad with technical problems, I must say. Great. And it's like that I think we change the world and we create new futures. By being caring, by smiling, by being human beings, by accepting that. And how many of you use these tools of smile? Just smile.
Like barely anybody? That's what it seems like.
Just smile to your friends. Just smile to the colleague that is next to you. Say, good morning. I'm so happy that you are here. Can you imagine the amount of miracles that happen for us to be in this room today? Isn't this a great moment? Because a lot of things have to happen for us to be here. And we are here with a purpose. So let's honor that. Let's do something there.
Just want to say to David's point, and what was your name? Ricardo? Nice to meet you. And when you notice your inner process saying, I don't want to smile, explore that. We're complex people, and there's a dynamic sort of conversation going on inside, emotional, mental, rational, body, transpersonal. So, there are a lot of unconscious ways that we relate that just happen, both on the individual and collective level. Are we ready? Okay. I know that you had, yeah. I want to make sure that I'll come to you after this because I want to make sure you get heard.
Yeah.
So
thank you so much.
Back to Talita.
Thank you, Talita. Just a question. Is there cash here? Is there cash girl here? No? Okay. No. Good morning. How are you? How's everybody doing today? Hello, how are you? How's everybody doing today? Okay. So my name is Clemencia Vargas. I'm from Colombia. I have a project called Vive Bailando, which translates to live dancing. So what we were just saying before, giving somebody a hug, movement, energy,
It's what life is really about, and that's what we're about. We're about how movement, dance, and the body can transform the lives of adolescents in Colombia. In Colombia, 26% of the population are adolescents between 11 and 25 years old. That's almost 13 million people in this age group. 20.5% of all the women in Colombia that had kids had them between 15 and 19 years old. So, in Viva Bailando, we're an organization from youth to youth, and we're working to break the poverty cycle of all the girls, that land in teenage pregnancy. In addition, we're the second country in Latin America with the most adolescents that neither work nor study. And violence has been the first cause of death in the last decade between adolescents in this age group. So we work with adolescents to survive and to be able to enjoy their basic rights in teenage pregnancy, violence, consumption, but also, and most importantly, for them to believe in themselves, to improve their self-esteem, for them not to land in depression and bullying. Around 7% of the adolescents in Colombia suffer from depression. And you might think, why is it important in Colombia? If you compare the statistics in Colombia to world statistics, they're not very different. Violence has been the first cause of death. 1 in every 4 girls is pregnant. And the same for depression. So today I want to invite everybody to stand up, please. And, well, first of all, let's get everything moving. So let's take our heads, shoulder, shoulders, and let's start clapping. When I say living, you say dancing. Let's live dancing. Live. Live. All right, perfect. So now, we're always about dancing, and people say, I don't dance. I'm super excited to dance. And we do leadership programs for executives where they start to learn about their body and dancing, and they're not used to moving. They can go up and speak in front of 1,000 people, but if you tell them to dance, they freak out. But I'm not going to put you to dance today because, I'll give you a break. But what I want us to do is to change seats. Just change seats. Share or change seats with somebody that you see, someone that you don't know next to you. And I want to invite you to see this video and this presentation from a different perspective. Because you got here today. Fast. Come on, you can change. There you go. So in the interest of time, I want to invite you all to see this presentation today from a different point of view. Because that's life. Life presents movement. It presents changes. And it's up to us to be able to decide whether we want to accept that movement and that change and see life from a different perspective. So now today we're going to see everything from a different perspective from where we came in today. And that's what we teach our kids. We say, look, we don't know what's going to happen. But when movement comes, when your body changes, you need to accept that change. So before we get into speaking about, cognitive changes from dance and the body, and tell you a little bit more organization, I want to show you a quick video that shows us what we do in the area.
vivamos, disfrutamos, reímos, gozamos, bailamos, creemos, compartimos.
Okay, so I'll tell you a little bit of my story. I actually moved here to the States when I was 6 because our family was also impacted by violence. Colombia is right now undergoing a peace treaty, but has been in war in the last 50 years. I was very lucky to be able to come to the States, but a lot of these kids and their families have been and suffered from a lot of violence. And I found in dance and in movement the power to overcome these difficulties, to express myself, to overcome my family. My father lost 3 fingers because of a bomb. So to overcome, and dance and movement became my way to express. But also dance is a tool not only of empowerment, but of recognition. And I believe that these individuals and these adolescents, when they're recognized, their life changes. Because many of them have not ever been recognized. They're 20 years old, and most of they don't even live with their parents. This year we have worked with 2,200 adolescents on a yearly basis. They come and they work with us 4 hours a week, plus every other weekend with their families. So 80% of the adolescents that we work with, of the 2,200, they live with just single parents or with their grandparents. So we don't replace the government, we don't replace the families or the schools, but we become a support system for these 3. Where a lot of the time, the schools, they don't have a sexual education class. It's not part of something that the government requires. So they don't know the changes that their body goes through. Plus, getting their period for a girl is something that they don't understand what's going on with their body. So what we have developed is that we're a social entrepreneurship initiative, and we structure projects from Coca-Cola Company to the Embassy of Sweden in an area of influence for them. Our methodology is based on 5 modules: sexual education and respect for your body, leadership, principles and values, personal development, and entrepreneurship. And our mission is not to form dancers. Our mission is to form adolescents to make the right life decisions and take responsibility of their life. And the way that we've been able to do this is that only 3% of our income in 2016 was from donations. It's structuring projects not only for the private sector, but for international cooperation. We work in more than 8 cities in Colombia nationwide. And what we do is that the first phase of a project, we go in and we adapt and adopt our modules, our metric system, and the project to the cultural context, to the problematics, to the necessities, but also to the strengths of that community. Then we start our intervention and we measure our impact both qualitatively and quantitatively through social demographics, psychometrics to measure the impact of our modules in terms of self-esteem and social abilities and leadership, and we work with their families and the communities as well. So for us in Villa Bailando, dance and movement are a way to transform the lives of adolescents, and we have a family. If you want to know more information, we are Villa Bailando on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and we also have a YouTube channel. Thank you to NEXUS for the invitation. Thank you so much to Kalida, which reached out to me and invited me. And thank you all for listening to our story. And also to Mark, because now we are a project of the Giving Back Fund as well as of this year. So we're looking forward to working with them in the future. And thank you very much. I just wanted to end by saying, when you leave here today, think about the next step that you're going to do. Because for us, each step in the transformation and movement. Thank you very much. Thank you, Clemenza, to come with your team here. So now we would like to ask very special guys from Brazil. Where are they? Ricardo, Leo, Claudinho, and Daniel Cafuso. So they are going to talk about their initiative. So they have their own initiatives, but they are all collaborating in something bigger that also they are going to invite you to be part.
Good morning, everybody. We are here, I guess, Talita invited us because we are something which is new for us. We are not all structured, but I guess the essence is sharing our experience on how we are living the transformation in ourselves and how do our works reflect this. We come from different realities in the same city, which is separated by a huge gap, economic gap. So I represent the highest elite part of my society, and they represent what people would say the guys who has no opportunities because of their economic status. But actually, when we think about resources, we are discovering we are equal. We are discovering that through music, because we are all musicians, because we're starting to make a difference in our societies, in our communities through music, and we have a little history about the music, about a song to share with you, because art, body, music is body. It begins in our body. So even though a lot of musicians are afraid of their body as well, this is not a privilege of businessmen, because we should look everyone as human beings, as full human beings with their own lives. We just gotta, but sometimes dancing really helps to get it like that, to remember about our baby lives. Yeah, that was the essence. We reconnect to our baby lives. So we try to be responsible with our time, and we have a presentation. We're gonna play this song. Okay, so we're going to improvise, because that's what musicians do. We would bring the lyrics for everybody. We're going to talk a little till we arrange everything, because we translated the lyrics of the song, which talk about the power of our power. How do we look? How do we deal with our own power? And it's the same what Anna was talking about. How do we really choose every day the way we use our power? How do we reconnect to our different natures of power to build our realities, to be responsible for our realities, and to be responsible for our health in the end. Because when we talk about the planet, we're talking about health. When we talk about self-esteem, we're talking about health. When we talk about sedentary living, working too much, or just fighting too much, not being balanced in the end of the day, we are compromising our health, and we are connected to the planet, because in the planet needs, we got to take care of body's health, and we start learning, usually, by ourselves. On and off. There's never only one way. But we are together here. It's called Jardim a Jardim. Jardim a Jardim is the name of the song that we composed. It's a reference to our neighborhood, because they're from Jardim Angela, and we are from Jardim Paulista. This is like the poorest and the richest neighborhood. It's like an image. It would be in English, garden to garden. Jardim means garden. So the Garden Angela and Garden Paulista, maybe in an American context. A good garden is the Mexican Square Garden, I don't know, something like that. So, we got the lyrics? Yes, we have. We would like to propose an appreciation of our little baby that has born like months ago that we co-produced, and then I tell the story about the song. So first, we would like to listen together, and we will put the lyrics here so we can add along with it. This is the happy people from garden to garden. That we didn't met Clementa before, but she will help us. We're going to invite you. Where is Clementa? Okay, we want to talk to you after this presentation so we can plan something good to our closure. Okay? Well, the story of this song is about a group of people working in the social area, organizations trying to cooperate in the youth area. So, em Movimento is an initiative that combines different organizations which are represented here. So, I'm part of the border of Arapiaú as well, which is connected to Amazon issues, to environmental issues, the city, the way the city develops, and I'm trying to do the part of how we look to the youth, and we are trying to do this in connection connection with other organizations. Rodrigo from Elos is our partner as well. And we begin proposing in 5 states of Brazil rodas de conversa. Well, talk circles to listen what the youth were, the willing, the necessities, the things. And in São Paulo specifically, I was part of this encounter. We met at Jardim Angela for a weekend, and then the other weekend we exposed our work, what the group produced. One of the production of this work, of this group, was the lyrics in this song, and that day, a banca, which is the organization of Daniel, he will talk a little bit more about it. He talks in Portuguese. I translate, maybe.
Eu vou falando pausado, você vai traduzir. Boa. Bom dia a todos. Como o Leal me apresentou, eu sou Daniel Cafuso. Venho do Jardim Ângela, Zona Sul de São Paulo. Periferias de São Paulo, que a gente chama de quebrada. A banca é uma produtora cultural social de impacto.
A banca is a cultural producer of impact.
Que utiliza a música e a cultura hip hop para fazer pontes entre pessoas de realidades diferentes. Fazer pontes entre pessoas de realidades diferentes. E a gente nasceu por uma simples necessidade de fazer música na rua e abrir diálogo com a juventude da quebrada.
I'm not the best person to translate. Rodrigo, please help us. Or Bia, you're the best from Brazil.
Chamou o reforço, né? Chamou o reforço.
Again, they are just my friends, but I'll do my best.
Chamou o reforço agora, né? Chamou o reforço. Tudo que a gente faz hoje, tudo que a gente realiza com a banca, seja qualquer trabalho, qualquer ação, é simplesmente porque a gente sente no coração.
Everything we do with banca is only because we feel that in our heart.
Se o que sai daqui não passa por aqui, nada funciona.
If what we think here doesn't go through here, things don't work.
Então, quando a gente entra dentro de escolas, seja públicas, particulares, ou fala com pessoas de diferentes realidades, a gente parte do princípio de acreditar na troca. A gente sempre acredita na troca.
So when we go to schools and we talk with people from different realities, we come from this principle of exchange. We believe in exchange.
Porque a gente acredita que tem uma coisa que o outro não tem, e o outro também tem uma coisa que a gente não tem.
Because we believe that we do have things that the other doesn't have, and they also have things that we don't have.
E para nossa felicidade, a gente depende da felicidade do outro.
So our happiness relies on the happiness of the others.
E a gente descobriu tudo isso, todo esse potencial por conta da música.
And we discover all this potential because of music.
E aí agora a gente está fazendo parte dessa história junto com o Sede Cultura, que é o nosso braço forte, por isso estamos aqui hoje.
So now we are being part of the story together with Sede Cultura, Think from Culture. That's why we are here today.
Por entender que essa é uma das nossas fontes mais importantes nesse momento. É isso, gratidão.
So, then they were facilitating the process at that time, and we met their studio, and 2 years later we met from encounter in Nem Movimento, but we started to record in the studio of Claudio, which is from Favela da Paz.
Bom, a gente tem pouco tempo, mas eu vou tentar falar rápido. Eu sou o Cláudio. Eu nasci nesse lugar, né? Já nasci, tenho 40 anos, nasci no Jardim Ângela.
14 years old, and I was born in Los Angeles.
Com 9 anos eu quis mudar o lugar, sem sair de lá, né?
When I was 9 years old, I wanted to change my place to some place.
A gente criou a Favela da Paz, que é um instituto que trabalha com cultura de paz dentro da favela.
So we created Instituto Favela da Paz, that I work with peace culture within the favela.
Então a gente trabalha com sustentabilidade, arte, cultura, esporte.
So we work with sustainability, arts and culture, sports.
Entendendo que é só o meio do caminho. Os projetos só são o meio para a gente ser melhor.
So understand that all these projects, they are just like the means to yeah.
Então a gente trabalha com liderança compartilhada, a gente trabalha com os dons compartilhados, com cooperação.
So we work with shared leadership, with shared gifts.
E a gente entende que o processo maior é a evolução, como que a gente evolui como ser humano.
So when we understand that what we are doing is evolving as human beings, this is the main thing.
Que as ferramentas só são oportunidades da gente ser melhor.
So all these tools, they are only opportunities for us to be better, to be as human beings.
Gratidão.
So thank you.
Vai ter um vídeo um pouco, a gente quis trazer um pouquinho da imagem do que acontece lá.
Small video. Very impressed with this project. This guy can do all of this almost with no money. They don't have any grants to support all this project. They start from zero almost every year. It's amazing. It's something that I never saw in any other place in my life.
Can you share just a little bit how you are exchanging all the resources to maintain this life in your community? Because it's completely related with the plenary that we had in the beginning about how we can redesign the economy and exchange skills and other resources. Só compartilhar pouco mais sobre como vocês mantêm tudo isso vivo com outros recursos, os recursos que vocês têm na comunidade para manter isso funcionando. 2 minutos.
Tá bom. Traduz? Acho que o poder da comunidade transforma qualquer coisa.
I believe that the power of community can transform anything.
Como o Gel disse, quando a gente depende do outro para viver, isso nos faz melhor. Ainda bem que a gente depende do outro. Então eu sempre tentei me perguntar por que meu pai criou 4 filhos dentro do lugar mais violento do mundo e virou isso tudo.
So I always wondering why my father has raised 4 kids in this place and suddenly we built all of this,
mesmo sem saber ler e escrever direito.
even not knowing how to read
Então,
or write.
que educação é essa que a gente não viu ainda?
What
A gente
kind of
deixou passar.
education was that one? That we
Então,
didn't, like, realize?
eu acho que fazer as coisas com muito amor e muita compaixão, eu acho que é o princípio de tudo.
So I believe that doing things with love and compassion is the principle for everything.
E a música nos ensina isso de uma forma muito bela.
And music teaches us this in a very beautiful way.
E quando a gente toca além do que o outro, né, a gente está passando o limite do outro. E a gente não está deixando o outro aparecer. Quando a gente toca além do que o outro, né, a gente passa dos limites, a gente apaga a luz do outro.
So when we how to translate this? So when we are playing, we need to respect the other, not feel like that we are bigger or better. So we are not respected. So through music, we learn how to respect, like playing something that we're really getting harmony with what you are playing.
Eu acho que o bom músico não é aquele que toca bem, é o que faz o outro tocar bem.
So for me, the good musician is not the one who plays well, but is the one who can support others to play well.
Eu acho que esse lugar com 20 pessoas, sei lá, 20 pessoas em 1 metro quadrado, me ensina muito esse lugar a viver, a cooperar com o outro.
So I think that this place where we have 20 people in this 1 square meter, this place teaches us a lot on how to cooperate.
E a vida que a gente viveu aí dentro, a gente percebeu que todos nós somos vítimas do sistema.
So through our life in that place, we realize that all of us are victims of the system.
E talvez lutar contra o sistema não é a solução, é criar novas formas de viver a vida.
So maybe to fight against the system is not the solution, but we may create new ways of living.
Talvez o Rodrigo diz isso muito bem, que é ver o belo onde não está, onde está todo mundo vendo a escuridão.
It's like Rodrigo says, it's to see beauty where others see darkness.
É isso. Obrigado, irmão.
So, as we say that we are all kind of victims, but we are not victims, but we are all submitted to the system, the richer and the poor. This affects everybody. There's a study which is recently renewed in Brazil, which is the inequality map that says that's the gap that unites us. Actually, we are linked by this gap. We are all responsible, and we need to cooperate. It's an illusion to think that because I have money and I have some good university study and intelligence, that I will know the answer for the problem that I don't live. We gotta live in our bodies. We gotta feel this. That's why me and Leo are going to the peripheral areas, into rural areas and grassroots communities to try to connect to these people, and we do it through music. We are from an organization called Think from Culture. We are both musicians, and we are trying to promote the diversity of cultures and biomes. But biomes, I don't know, biomes, biomas. Well, we see ecosystems. Okay. Okay. Yeah, we saw a little video that is a hint of our style of working together, but mostly we're trying to promote grassroots culture, which we love and we are learning as musicians and as humans, because this has a strong value in Brazilian culture. Because where the people get together, where people which are oppressed sometimes, they get this strength out of them, and they're really shy when they're partying, when they are dancing, when they are singing together. So we're trying to bring this information of the traditional culture to different circles, to put it on a map of who's not seen, and sharing this while we are getting to know that. At the same time, we're going to the urban region to research and know the people who are making the new culture there. For example, hip hop, samba, which has the style that they represent, and there's a lot of richness down there. This is not richness is not about money. Strengthen identity. Virtue to the root. Basically, in the last minute, we're trying to contribute to the preservation and the opening mind and strengthening consciousness of people about environment through music. We think music is the way to reach the grassroots communities and our traditional cultures, which are part of our identity, which is where we build our identity. That's what we were talking about our ancestors. So these manifestations, cultural manifestations, lead us to ourselves in the end. And they also lead to the themes and the problems that rises from the territory where these communities live. So in our thinking, these are expression of biomes. These music, these dances, this food, this way of living, of building their houses, of sleeping, of hunting. They are an expression of their territory, and they define our identities. And this is beautiful, because sometimes we feel a lack of identity. We feel lost in a contemporary world which is disconnected to the earth, which is disconnected to the roots of our identity. So within music is a way to reconnect to this, to ourselves, and to the other in the end, because when you start to play music, so we believe in music for people, not music for musicians. We know everybody is a musician. Everybody can hit a drum. Everybody can sing. Yeah? God gives that gift to us. Everybody has. I think our mindset. If you speak, you sing. You know, basic like that. Yeah? If you walk, you dance. Yeah? And this is good for us. This helps us to engage in the heart and sometimes very dense things about environment. So we got to be conscious, but we can't depress. How will we not depress when we get to know so many information that leads us to a disaster? So we got to dance, we got to sing, we got to hurt ourselves, we got to connect, we got to support. It's pain because it's painful to see, to get consciousness. Yeah, but it's painful to develop ourselves anyway. It's always. That's why we need culture. That's why we need art. It's a basic necessity, the same as oxygen. So, a little bit of cultural speech. We aim to promote the diversity of cultures and biomes, strengthen identity by worshipping the roots and looking for the new. Promote through music genuine and transformative encounters capable of contributing to the formation of happier, more aware, and active citizens. And here we come to the end. There's a little, já falei dessas duas frentes. A little map of Brazil, just to show different parts of Brazil that we are working with. So we are a baby organization. We have now 2 years, and we hope we have more stories to tell you next time. I'd like to thank you, Alita, for inviting us, the people we are meeting here. Very special meeting.
Thanks me. I would like to thank you, Instituto de Geração, Luciano Léo, and Tatiana, because they did the bridge for all of this. Now is the break. We have a coffee break outside, and then the breakout sessions. And I'll not ask for people to talk about the breakout sessions because we are over time. So you can look at the program and then go to the rooms that are signed. Thank you.
Hi guys, we need to start the next breakout sessions. I know that networking and talk is very good, but we need to move forward. So the next room, we are going to have the conversations about natural disasters. So anyone that would like to join them there. And we will have another activity about living and leading from the inside out, upstairs, third floor, and hear about new strategies for impact investing. So everyone that is here, please stay for this impact investing session. And if you have any other interests, just go to the other rooms, okay? Thank you.
I'll just add that we'd love the crowd to come join us up near the front if you feel so inclined.
Guys, thank you.
Hi, everyone. Hi. Yes. Energy at 11:37. Great. Well, it's great to see you all. I found out a couple hours ago that I'm moderating, so this is a self-moderated, self-gathered panel, and we're here to share our thoughts and experiences, but this is as much about all of y'all as it is about us. So very much welcome open participation, collaboration, I think all the values that this community is built on in the first place. So I'm Dan McCombie. All these wonderful folks are going to introduce themselves in a moment. So we're going to start, and we're going to quickly just introduce ourselves and answer a few basic questions, but I saw someone do this at a panel yesterday, and I liked this. I'd love to hear from one or two or three of you in the room what brought you here, what you're interested in around this topic, anything that you feel like sharing briefly so we can have a little better understanding of who's here. Anyone have anything they want to share? Great. Super excited to have you here. Anyone else, something they're excited to learn about or hear about or want to share more about? Beautiful. He said he wants to learn how to share more of the impact we're creating. Anyone else? All right, let's get into it. So for each of us, what we're going to do, just take 3 minutes. Who you are, however you want to define that, what your focus is, and why you think it matters.
3 minutes? That's a long time.
Or less.
Okay.
I am going to keep an eye on
You can do 30 seconds now. Danielle Beyer. I am the CEO of the New America Alliance, which is a national advocacy organization founded in 1999, which focuses on ensuring that investment funds, so think venture capital, private equity, hedge funds, real estate, infrastructure, run and owned by women and minorities, have access to institutional capital. So fast forward since 1999, when we were founded, to today, we've represented our members who have raised $60 billion in assets, so it's real money created for a very diverse population of investment management firms. I came from the hedge fund industry, so it's a very, very different world for me. Started in January as their CEO, and I'm accompanied here by 3 very successful people in the impact investing world, which is related, albeit separate, to what we do in the diversity lens investing world. But very, very excited and honored to be here, and looking forward to learning from you all.
Thank you. Thanks everyone for coming. My name is Andres. I'm from Chile. I've personally always been involved in the impact sector from very different angles, from working in public prisons in Chile to starting an NGO in Australia, and currently working as the strategy manager for Sudameric. It's the first impact investing management firm we have in Chile. We recently closed our first fund. So we're pretty excited about it, and we're focusing on mainly value chain solutions for the food, agriculture, and environmental sectors.
Hi, my name is Martin Acosta. I'm from Ecuador. I started a long time ago as an investments advisor. Then went to do my MBA and everything and worked for private equity. and decided to go back to my home country and become a social entrepreneur. So that's what I do 80% of my time, more or less. And the remaining 20%, I'm a portfolio manager. So I manage wealth for 5 families in Ecuador, and then during my experience as a social entrepreneur, I've been in touch with several impact funds. We started this company because we wanted to create, something that I was passionate about was first create a global brand, and the second one was create different value chains, create an inclusive business with farmers. So we have created 10 supply chains, and we export to 30 countries. And you can find the chips outside at the end.
Martin and I have a lot in common. We've known each other for a long time. I'm the co-founder of a company called Runa, which also works in Ecuador, also working with smallholder value chains for a unique tea called Guayusa. Left that role full-time 2 years ago, and now I'm the entrepreneur in residence at a fund called Dev Equity. We focus in Central America and Andean South America, and we focus on partnering directly with up-and-coming companies, growing with a really clear focus on impact, either through building physical spaces, namely affordable housing and urban revitalization projects, businesses whose value chain directly creates livelihood opportunities for communities, particularly working with smallholder farmers, and then other businesses whose impact or service model, something that they say, their good or service, creates new opportunities for either better social outcomes or growth in livelihoods. So we've now invested in 8 deals. We just opened our second fund, and I work with them to both support the entrepreneurs already in our portfolio, make sure they're maximizing their impact, and oftentimes figuring out how to sell products in markets like I'm familiar with, as well as looking for new opportunities across the sector. So we've heard a little bit about who we are and what we care about. To me, one question that really comes up and why this panel was ostensibly brought together in the first place is, what is exciting you right now? What do you see as the big opportunities to through our work, to make the most impact in people's lives? All of us can answer that one.
Okay, I can go first. What really excites me now is that, and the project I'm with, we're getting the chance to bring into the market a fund that's aiming for market returns and social returns. I know in other sectors, I was doing my MBA last year in Oxford, and there's so many funds you hear about which have this kind of approach, but in the southern cone, say Chile, Argentina, Paraguay, and Uruguay, the mindset is a bit behind when it comes to impact investing. I don't know if some of you were here when Maria Jose spoke yesterday about her fund, so she's our pioneer in impact investing in Chile. And it's exciting to bring in more solutions, and I think what will change the needle in terms of ecosystem building in the southern cone is our funds that can deliver on this promise, on bringing market returns and social returns, and that will, as a consequence, and that's what we want, bring in more capital into impact investing in the southern cone, because most traditional investors still, as Maria mentioned yesterday, believe in that dichotomy, or I only have a foundation and a for-profit business. There's no midpoint. So that excites me now, that I'm boosting the whole ecosystem and proving that you can do it through as an impact investor.
To me, I think there's going to be a lot of innovation coming up in this sector. We've seen companies like, for example, Kiva, that lent us 50,000, or now they're going to lend us 100,000 more. A lot of reinvestments, so second round, third round investments with the same companies once you reach certain milestones. I think that's going to be a huge trend in impact investing. So basically, you get a little money. Once you get to here, you get more money, and so on. So accompanying the entrepreneurs all along, I think that's going to be great. And I also think that there's going to be a split between funds that are used to, charging a lot of interest rates, very high interest rates, and becoming more closer to what the economy is charging, really. I think in the past we've seen funds that were asking us, I don't know, 16% interest rates. And now the tendency is towards the 10% or lower. And we're in a country, as Ecuador, where the interest rates are not very competitive. And then also in terms of equity, I'm seeing more and more people that want to create value. So not only the money, but also get more and more involved.
On my own for me, there's two things that are really, really exciting happening. And as I mentioned, I really took my role in January, having spent a lot of time in the kind of hedge fund world, isolated from a lot of this. But two things are really exciting for me, and they're related. It's hard to know which one's the chicken and which one's the egg. But now in the United States, we're seeing, and this came up, Rosie is a member of the organization, so she was participating in our meetings in the state of Illinois in November, and the topic of impact investing came up we were meeting with 12 of the largest institutions in Illinois who have hundreds of billions of dollars when you aggregate them. And that is not a conversation that had come up previously, where now they're interested in impact investing, and it's part of their business model, right? So we think about where the diversity lens investing conversation was several decades ago, is in kind of a similar stage as where the impact investing conversation is now, with some of these pensions that are now starting to see, this is actually a business opportunity, not just it's the right thing to do opportunity. So that's one thing. And the other thing is that there's more funds being formed around this investment thesis, right? So there are more funds coming to the New America Alliance and saying, we want to invest in this, this, and this. Can you help us raise money, or can we be part of your ecosystem, and can we have access to your institutions? And so, again, two things that are related to each other that I find are very, very exciting, because you won't have these impact investments being made if you don't have huge amounts of capital flowing to them, right? And it has to truly flow. It can't just be in small pockets. So hopefully we'll continue to see more and more of that going forward.
Thank you. For me, there's a couple that come up, but I think putting on the hat of someone who started a company and raised from a number of investors and funds, I see more and more investors coming from the mindset of solutions orientation when working with entrepreneurs. Who here has ever run a tech company or been involved in a tech company? Show of hands. Okay, so not a few of you, not many. So I have a lot of friends in that space in New York, and the attitude that most of them are used to from institutional investors is it's often combative, it's highly extractive, and about the kind of returns they can get as quickly as possible. And that makes sense potentially in a world where you're trying to get a 10x return on some app in 3 years. And a lot of that attitude I saw 10 years ago, I felt was being translated over to the kind of funds that were investing in impact or food and beverage, which is my experience. And I see more and more, like ourselves, like the work that Agora is supporting, like others, that come in and they have a comprehensive idea of the kind of collaboration we can create with the entrepreneurs, and thinking through what do they need, how can we support them, how can we bring resources to the table from day one, rather than when things are going rough. And that excites me a lot. So one other one I want to kind of go into amongst us, and then I want to open it up more for questions and bring you guys into the mix. I got some more questions for each of you individually as well. Andres pointed this one to me, which I liked. What is challenging you right now? Or in other words, what is the biggest pain in the butt about the work you do and that you're finding as a roadblock or difficulty?
Can I go with two? Yeah, for what we've seen, biggest pain in the neck from the fund manager perspective, raising funds, of course. In a place, for the ones that are not familiar, in Chile, they were so keen to boost the venture capital and impact investing ecosystem that government said, okay, any money you raise, say 1 mil, we're going to double it up. They call it the 2-for-1 in Chile. And it's a credit line the government gives you for about 2.5%. So it's extremely convenient. Everyone in Chile was like, whoa, the time this comes up, the government funds are going to run out because this is just too good. 6 months later, after they announced it, there were no funds that had applied. Why? Because getting that initial capital in Chile was so hard. And I'm talking venture capital. Not even imagine how hard it is for to raise capital for an impact fund. Maria Jose touched on that yesterday as well. So first, pain in the neck, getting your LPs, getting investors, very hard. And in a place like the Southern Cone or Latin America, I think it's harder. And secondly, the biggest pain in the neck, getting deal flow, of course. For you guys that are in the venture capital space or impact investing space, this is like when you meet a single guy and he says, Andres, there's no single woman out there. And an hour later, I meet a single girlfriend and she says, Andres, there's no single guys out there. The impact investing and venture capital markets are very similar. Entrepreneurs will say, there's no capital out there, and investors will say, there's no good opportunities out there that are investment ready. So finding deal flow that is investment ready, that has the potential for impact and for financial returns, huge challenge.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, Andres. 2 years ago, we did an event in Ecuador called the Kiwi Investment Summit. So we had 30 companies pitching in front of investors. Actually, Runa was one of them. Martin was also there. And we had, 60 investors from abroad as well. And we had these companies from 7 countries pitching. And then the feedback we got from some funds was like, this is great. You did already the pre-due diligence for us. And we got, one of them wrote saying, hey, we got 7 companies that we put into our pipeline. So deal flow is one. I think more events that unite what you mentioned, the boys and the girls, let's say, or the people that have the money and the people that need the money, would be great. And as a social entrepreneur, what I've faced, the most difficult thing has been finding funds willing to lend you money or to invest money, asking you to be already profitable. I think when you're a social entrepreneur, it takes you longer to get to those profits. I actually saw a study from PricewaterhouseCoopers in London that was showing that on average an industry should get to profits in 5 years. But if you're a socially related industry, it takes you at least 7 or 8 years. And that has been my case as well. And just proving that to impact investors, regardless of what they are, has been tough. There have been some, the Inter-American Development Bank, a fund called Altamundi in Switzerland. There have been a number of players that have invested in us even if we were not profitable. And I also wanted to tell you, I met a very famous American entrepreneur called Gary. I don't remember his last name, but he started Stonyfields, the organic yogurt. And he told me, it took me 9 years to get to profits. Okay, just because of the added thing that you have to do. You're pretty much creating 2 companies, the social company and the financial company, let's say, or the for-profit company. And that's something that I think investors forget sometimes, especially in the impact world.
It's always the money that's the challenge, right? Getting the capital to flow. So we speak to a lot of potential members and institutions, and they'll say, well, your members have raised $60 billion. That's a lot. And you think, yes, wow, it's so much. But then you look at who our members are, and they're mostly women and minority and independent-run investment management funds, and they only manage 1% of all assets in the markets, right? So it's only 1%. And the rest is managed by, I won't say the names, but largest, private equity, hedge funds, venture capital funds in the world, right? So it's not enough. And so the biggest challenge for us is that we have 4 states that are very, very cooperative and very supportive, and a few others on the periphery, like Illinois, California, New York, Texas, right, who are putting hundreds of billions of dollars into, or trying to put hundreds of billions of dollars into this space. The challenge is getting new names to come to the table and believe in this as a true investment opportunity, right? So we won't get past that 1% of assets of the markets if we don't get new names in the door, right? If we're not getting the foundations and the family offices and the endowments and other pensions, really, to invest. So that is the biggest pain in the, is getting the capital to flow. And yes, $60 billion is a lot of money. It's awesome. We love it. Give us another 60, but it's not enough.
Thank you. My personal perspective is biased by my focus. So what I'm about to share is truly for me and not meant as a general comment. When we were talking on the phone preparing for this, one of the things that came up is all of us, and I imagine many of you have probably been to at least as many panels as I can count on one hand, where you define impact investing. Who here has been to one of those? Yeah. So we don't need to do that again today. But everyone's got their own definition of what that means. And something that's really important to me that I know is that investing with the mindset or focusing on businesses or creating social impact in general, it's not an industry, right? I've seen businesses, literally these shoes I'm wearing, or I started a beverage company, or other companies providing various services. Those can all be considered socially impactful businesses, and yet they all have wildly different business models. So the sort of confusion that I see a lot of people facing about how to define it leading to the kinds of things that people suggest or bring to me. I have a personal perspective that I'm not, this stays in this room, I'm not the world's biggest fan of one-for-one models. I think there's a lot of good that can and has come from one that's done right. I mean, you guys are probably familiar with Tom's shoes or something like that. For anyone who's not, basically the premise is, we'll use Tom's as an example. They make shoes that are relatively cheap, I believe in China. And for every one that an American consumer or elsewhere, Europe is big for them too, buys, they give another one away in Africa. But giving that shoe away isn't actually a critical part of their model. They're just giving shoes away, and many would argue that by doing that, they're preventing industries and entrepreneurship, et cetera, from arising in those companies because there's no market for shoes. So I see a lot of those, and that's not something I personally define as the kind of impact that excites and interests me. And because of the way that that has kind of, I'd almost say sucked a lot of the air out of the room for the conversation of what a social good business is. There's just a lot of confusion about what it means, and people, when I have conversations like this, people kind of, you can see the glazed look in their eyes when we start talking about stuff like this. Got it. So we could keep talking. I have a number of questions that I can draw to each of these wonderful people here, but I want to open up to the room because you guys all probably have your own questions, perspectives, et cetera. Keep in mind, we all shared a bit of our background and where we come from, so if you have something for one of us individually, based on our experience, that's great. If you have something you want to hear all of us comment on, that's great too. I'd love to open up the floor. Yeah, welcome to my life. I know Martina and I both have experience with that, but any of you guys who feel called to answer that?
All right, so I'll start. I faced what you're experiencing twice. Okay, And the first time was when we were finishing our new manufacturing plant in 2014. And it got to a point where I've always felt that there are some angels. You know, remember yesterday they were saying that if you show them enough passion and enough values and stuff, the money will come to you. And believe it or not, it happened to me. You know, I got a Swiss guy that was traveling to Ecuador and had, I guess, an excess $500,000. And right when I needed to put the money, yeah, so exactly what I needed, $500,000 to finish the company. And the guy was great, Impact Finance, it's the name of the fund. And he allowed us to finish what we needed. And then eventually we got money to repay him back. But so that was once. And now is the second time. We just signed a deal with Walmart that will triple our sales in 1 year. And but yeah, then it has been a problem of working capital, and all the assets are already collateralized. Okay, and believe it or not, as I told you, crazy things have happened. We have a bank that came to us and said, "Hey, you know, we have done an analysis with you. You're getting paid by this retailer. We're going to give you $40,000." All right, man. Then my brother calls me and says, "Hey, you know, I have excess $40,000. All right." Then Kiva says, "You know, if you repay us the $40,000, we'll lend you $100,000." Kiva in the U.S. And then we went to the Inter-American Development Bank and said, "Hey, you know, this is what's going on. We can't repay you this month." And they said, "No, no worries. 2 years of grace period in addition to you." And then Alpha Mundi will make a decision this week. Hopefully, they'll lend us more money. You know, so things like that have happened. But of course, it's very stressful until the very end. And I know that within the next month that we have already to ship to Walmart, we're actually starting to produce today. We're actually starting a third ship today. You know, so I just would encourage you to believe in yourself and pray a lot, and believe that it will happen.
Keep around Martin. You know, that stuff rubs off. Good energy.
Yeah. Martin hit the nail on the head pretty much. There's not a ton of people doing working capital right now. I have sort of reflected most of those experiences. Open it up again. Who else is something they'd love to hear about? In the back? We'll come to you next. Totally. And I'll answer this briefly, and I'd love to hear from you all on this as well. To me, and this is partly my background, I do want to be clear. I have lovely friends that I care about a lot who do businesses that have a one-for-one model. Like, I'm not trying to talk anyone down. To me, something where you're creating a systemic impact in the opportunity for livelihoods, jobs, well-being. So businesses, for example, that create new value chains, and alongside that create the demand for those products. Businesses like both of ours, like a number I've seen, where by creating a market for something unique that doesn't necessarily have a commodity market for it already, it can create income opportunities that are longer lasting by building the sort of infrastructure underlying that. As I said too, I get really excited about businesses that are providing a good or service where there's a gap that aren't being provided. There's one company I've looked at, they're not raising right now, but I use them as an example. They're in Colombia, it's called Suyo, for those of you who want to take a look. They are creating, they do services for providing land title. So lots of families in slums or other areas don't actually have a secure title to their land, which means they can't get loans or even do improvements on their house. So a very simple service that is really hard for individuals to obtain at scale can create a huge difference in a lot of people's lives. One other I'll refer to that I love, someone who spoke yesterday talked about this. It's a company that, this isn't in Latin America, but I still think it's a great example. Basically, the issue of counterfeit drugs is a big problem. And this is a company that created a kind of scratch-off label where if I was a consumer, India and China is where they focused, and I got this bottle and I wanted to ensure that it was legit and actually going to do what it was supposed to, I scratch it off, I send a text, I get a notification back about whether or not the drugs are authentic. Those kinds of businesses really excite me personally.
Yeah, there's so many business models for social enterprises. Ideally, I think you need a model where the impact is, say, embedded in the business model. So hopefully, the more they sell, the more impact they're gonna have. Just there's accelerators like Fletch that advocate you wouldn't even need to measure the impact that way because you know that it's embedded on your increase of sales or profits. Having said that, we have seen with Agora partnerships models for one-on-one, say Beyond English, very successful education social enterprise in Chile. They teach corporates English, and for each class, their teachers give they give high quality English education to a school with lower on resources. It's a one-for-one, but it's still extremely successful. I'll say there's lots of business models, and I think you have to be flexible. What's really important not to miss out in the business model or in the solution is what they taught a lot in Oxford is the apprenticing with the problem part. So even if you have an effective business model, you have a solution that works well with the say the profit making of your business, you could still not be addressing the right solution for your problem. Happens more often than not. So they would advocate. They actually have grants called the apprenticing for the problem. So when you have a business idea, they send you to spend time with the beneficiaries or to study the environmental problem you want to resolve, so your solution is completely adequate.
I would just briefly follow up that what you just talked about, where if it is a one-for-one model, it's a service that really can change lives and livelihoods. That kind of stuff does really excite me. I love that one you described. Who else?
I think it's a great question, and we've faced that several times. A weird way that I solved the problem with was we have a certification called BASC. It's called Business Alliance for Secured Commerce. I think their website is wbasco.org. But anyway, it was created by the DEA, the Drugs Enforcement Agency of the U.S., together with Latin American businessmen. Okay, and it helps to solve several logistics things mainly, but it also covers that part. So yeah, we do a lot of scrutiny in whoever we receive money from.
We face that experience ourselves as well. Runa has an associated nonprofit in Ecuador, and I'll leave them nameless, but a major oil company that was known for some pretty shady environmental practices wanted to give us money for reforestation. And in part of my head, I'm like, great, cool, like money plants trees, end of story. But two things came up for us. One, we didn't have clarity into the legacy of corruption. So even though we didn't know, I could have just in my head envisioned all the ways it could turn into a nightmare. But two, we also knew, and I think this is an important factor, is how are you going to be used for that? And we knew that we were going to get put in a ton of press, and this company was going to talk about how they're helping plant trees. And when I looked at the net, I just felt like there was a risk of doing more harm to our reputation than the good we could through that work, and that felt like a no-brainer to me. Either of you others want to add any comment? All right. In the back, we'll come to you next.
local indigenous businesses. And there's two main industries, aviation and community tourism. And he specifically has created businesses. He creates them and then hands them off to someone who can manage them or should be able to manage them. But now the result is two businesses that are bankrupt, and is asking, what he can do going forward to prevent that, and what are some solutions. See, I'm from the fund investment world, not necessarily from the entrepreneurship world, so I will let the true entrepreneurs here answer that question. So these businesses are community businesses.
I can take that one. I'll do it in Spanish first. En Chile, con Sudamérica, trabajamos mucho con cooperativas y muchas cooperativas son de las comunidades mapuche, que es la comunidad indígena más grande en Chile. Y son negocios con mucho potencial, sobre todo negocios en apicultura, por ejemplo, comunidades que también están haciendo moda, comunidades que están trabajando en berries como el maqui, que tienen mucho potencial de comercio. Lo que ocurre, por lo menos, y estoy hablando solamente del caso de Chile, no conozco muy de cerca como las otras comunidades y los problemas, pero asumo que son más o menos transversales, es las estructuras de gobernanza. A veces les falta en muchos casos ser más robustas, digamos. Entonces se hacen entidades legales o se hacen inversiones en cooperativas o comunidades, pero no hay una gobernanza clara. O sea, una jerarquía, organigrama, una regulación clara de qué va a pasar, como dices tú, cuando es como en un emprendimiento estándar. ¿Qué pasa cuando saco al gerente general? ¿Qué pasa cuando saco al CEO? ¿Cómo funciona esa estructura después? Just say it in English, yeah? So, yeah, it's mainly around, I was giving the example that we've worked with Mapuche communities in Chile, and in that case where we work with cooperativa, very important to focus on the governance structures that you're leaving behind or where you're placing the investment. So you have, where there's a lot of transition, and it's easier in these cases to get a dilution of who's running the cooperative as well. So that's one piece of advice I would give.
Bueno, después me encantaría conversarle más en español, pero le doy mi respuesta en inglés primero. I've seen this happening more and more, and basically we come from a country where there was a lot of money because of oil, and a lot of associations got a lot of money to start businesses. And what I've seen is that what belongs to everyone doesn't belong to anyone, and so nobody takes really charge. And for me, the most important thing there is the leadership. So, for example, right now we have created separate businesses, for example, or let individuals start their own businesses. And for example, we have ladies that peel the bananas, the plantains for us in the casaba. And for us, the most important thing is always to find good leadership in the associations or in the companies that we work with. That's like the number one thing. And whenever you don't feel that comfortable that you're leaving that to a good leader, it's a tough one, because I think you should stay there until you find someone that is a good leader. In my case, we are training. Not that I have anything to train the guy, but we have found a very good general manager, and I'll stick around until I feel that he's comfortable managing the business going forward.
So I represent the Brazil Foundation. I'm responsible for the Miami chapter here in Miami. We are a nonprofit organization incorporated in New York. We have offices in Rio. In Brazil, we support around 100 social projects in Brazil every year. So we have some indigenous projects in Brazil as well. So I think what is really important is the leadership again. I mean, for all the 100 grants we make every year, we look into the kind of leadership, which really the social leader. A lot of what we have seen at the beginning, we've been around for 17 years, but a lot of leaders are great entrepreneurial, but the management is really, a lot of times the skills for management, the business are not there. So besides the grants, we also do a training. I mean, I don't want to sound like arrogant, but we do like a week of financing, marketing, and go over those business plans before we grant them. So I think that it's important to have a leader in the group that really can manage the business, not only come up with the idea, but also have partnerships. Like sometimes we have great projects with women, let's say in the slums in Rio, creating great fashion, but they are awful with the finance. So we look for like someone from Bank of America who was retired in Rio with a very strong finance person to be the mentor of the project. And we're always trying to link them with other organizations that can help them when the skills is missing.
Just to add to that, yeah, I fully agree, and it happens in every project. I've worked with projects in all Latin America, Europe as well. It happens everywhere. High potential entrepreneurs that are sitting on awesome products, but just don't have the management and financial skills. So they don't grow and they are not able to raise investment. So on that space, you have big players like Agora Partnerships that focus on upskilling, helping them get to investment readiness. And from the investor side, from the impact investor side especially, always important to keep an eye on that you're not just putting money out there. You really need to bring in the mentors, the connections, the retail channels to help these entrepreneurs that in a lot of cases have a lot of potential, but they do need additional support.
I would just add one quick follow-up point to that as well. I 100% agree with everything you all just said. I got you next. And there's a layer below that of what is actually like the personal leadership style, skill sets, and abilities that support entrepreneurs in receiving that kind of feedback. I can say for one, when I was a 23-year-old entrepreneur, that when someone told me I sucked at finance, I'd be like, yeah, right, I figured it out. And so this is one of the reasons I also work with entrepreneurs more on the leadership style, but how to train them to support them in their ability to receive feedback, hear tough things, know that those conversations are coming from a collaborative spirit, I think is a very critical skill that underlies a lot of what you guys said too. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs, because of that same chutzpah and power, or personal charisma, however you want to put it, that led them to starting a business in the first place, that's not necessarily a skill that comes super easily to them.
Yeah, but there's a chapter in every country in Latin America. So I know only the guy in my city, and it took us maybe 5 months or 6 months of hard work. I mean, the most expensive thing was putting cameras all over. Investing in security, but it cost maybe 1,500 per year, something like that. Like 2,000 per year. Yeah, and you have to keep training your people as well. Oh, it has no relationship to impact. It's just security based. Or logistics based.
I know you've had your hand up for a minute. Yeah, I thought so. You go ahead.
Yeah, initial thoughts. Well, in the case of Chile, in my opinion, we do not have that much money coming from north. So most funds, say Acumen, they do not look at the southern cone because there's a perception that in the south, in places like Chile, it is slightly more developed and the impact will be less. So we're less used to that. But at the same time, yeah, we're trying to catalyze more money within the Chilean economy. And as I mentioned in the beginning, it's pretty hard to change that mindset from local investors. I believe that one of the things that's it comes from a few angles. One thing is just awareness of impact investing first. We're working on that space, at least in Chile still. Secondly, success stories. So we need a few more cases in market like Chile of social enterprises that have had a big exit, are having high returns. And thirdly, more players in the investor side that are measuring their impact, are getting market returns, and that will, I think, move the needle, at least in that specific economy.
I'll just add, it's about community organizing to some degree, right? I got you. It's about investors. You work in one country, we work across multiple countries, but spending time on the ground, getting to know the families, the individuals, the offices that are investing generally in the kind of sectors and newer businesses, not just big private equity investments, but have an interest in writing smaller checks. One of the things we do is we also invest in affordable housing and urban development. So that's kind of a nice angle to bring people in because that's what a lot of capital is going to in these markets. And it's just spending the time and working with entrepreneurs who may have raised checks here and there from local investors. It's just about building your community and the people who you want to come together with to continue to grow that. That's my personal practice on that.
I'd like to add 2 points to what has been said. The first one, I think we need to still create role models. I was hearing one Argentinian that kept talking about I think it was the Mercado Libre guy, Wenceslao, and he was telling how important it was for them to have this one guy becoming extremely successful. So role models, and I think for Endeavor is, for example, a good organization to have in your country. We just opened that in Ecuador. And the other thing that at least from my point of view, is critical are the laws, the judiciary system. I worked for a private equity fund before, and we had a lawyer in Costa Rica, and he was saying, you guys make me draft all these clauses, and then the problem will be that if we actually get into a judiciary fight, the judge won't understand. So how are we going to make sure that we implement all these weird clauses that people like investors use?
So we have 5 minutes left. So we're going to start closing out. And it goes without saying that if any of you all have individual questions for us or want to share more, I'm here for the rest of the day. I think all these fellows are as well. So is it quick? Okay, then if we have time, we're done. Love to share. I got the 5-minute notice a minute ago. So very, very briefly, if you can share, if you are successful, each of us, in 5 years, what's one thing that you hope to accomplish? And is there any way that this community can be supportive of your work individually?
5 more years. I think we'll be successful if in 5 more years, they mentioned it yesterday, there's no more impact investing. That would be a good goal. It's just investing. If we remove social from social entrepreneurship, that would be a sweet goal in 5 years. A bit ambitious though. And in terms of, but together we'll just keep growing the ecosystem, and that's aligned with what people in this room can do. And it's basically to keep doing what you're doing now. That's my advice. I know here there's social entrepreneurs, big impact investor rock stars like Cote back there. they're doing amazing work, and that we have allies. And I know the people in this room are here because you are supporting to build up the whole ecosystem, whether it's an NGO, an impact investor, a social startup, whether you're doing it through government. There's so many players. So I know that you're supporting it. So big thanks to everyone. And that's how you support impact investing. Just keep doing what you're doing.
I would like to see another $60 billion flow into this space, the space that we play in. And I think that's going to really come from the large institutions themselves demanding that it does, right? So you have people like the comptroller of the city of New York who called every single company he's invested in, so that's $160 billion. Every company he's invested in, he asked them, what is the name, age, gender, ethnicity of everyone on your board? And the companies that didn't get the communication started to very quickly change their board before they got the communication so that they wouldn't lose the money from the city, right? And now we need other leaders across the country doing that. That's the only way it's going to happen. And it's not going to happen because we're breaking this glass ceiling and asking the people here to give us money for our businesses. It's going to happen when the people up there start to actually make a change in their behaviors. So that's what I would like to see. I always tell our members that if it takes us another 20 years to raise $60 billion, I'm going to be very, very unhappy. So we're shortening that to about a quarter of the time it took originally.
I actually love the last question because exactly that situation would be my dream, that within each of these countries we work in, there's a drastically increased flow of capital, and the people who are making investments are starting their own businesses, looking to make changes that they want to see around them, and really driving their own communities and money towards these kind of businesses. Goes without saying, we're constantly on the hunt for exciting new entrepreneurs, businesses that are doing the kind of work that excites us. So if any of you all know people who are worth talking to or people who might know those kind of people, would be super grateful for any support.
In my case, I'd like to say two things. First thing, I would like to know, to see the creation of a fund that will lend to people like you and that would actually support entrepreneurs out there in the field, especially in developing countries. That's the first thing I would like to say. And the second thing, taking from a personal perspective, we have two varieties of potatoes called native Andean potatoes that are superfoods. They are naturally colored because of the extreme of the very high level of antioxidants they have. And for us, working with them, with these potatoes has been a nightmare. It's been 20% of our sales, but 80% of all the problems that we've faced. So coming up with solutions would be great. I'm telling you this because we had, for example, earlier this year, we worked with Stanford University. They helped us with 8 very smart kids developing new tools for this. So anything that can come, along those fields to help us grow the industry of native Andean potatoes in the Andes would be great.
Amazing. Thank you, everyone. Well, we are what is standing between you all and lunch, so we're going to get up off the stage. Thanks for your input. Thanks for your thoughts. Thanks for your questions. We'll all be here if there's anything else you want to share or talk about. And have a great rest of y'all's day.
He has experience.